In the late summer of 1958, a tropical storm began to churn in the Atlantic, thousands of miles off the coast of the United States. At first, it seemed like just another storm, typical for the season, a threat to small islands perhaps, but nothing extraordinary. But as the days passed, the storm grew, gaining strength and momentum. Soon, it would be known as one of the most devastating tropical cyclones in history. By September, the storm had been officially named Hurricane Evelyn. Its winds howled at over 160 miles per hour, its swirling mass of clouds extending hundreds of miles across the ocean. Weather stations around the Caribbean and the southern United States began to issue warnings, though in those days, technology wasn't nearly as advanced as it is now. The people in the path of Evelyn could only prepare as best they could, but no one truly knew the full extent of the devastation that was about to unfold. On September 12, 1958, Evelyn made landfall on the small island of San Felipe, a tiny Caribbean nation with just a few thousand residents. The island's inhabitants, fishermen, and farmers, mostly, had weathered hurricanes before. They boarded up their homes and sought shelter, expecting strong winds and rain, but nothing they hadn't survived in the past. However, Evelyn was different. As the storm descended on San Felipe, its winds tore through the island like a beast unleashed. Entire homes were ripped from their foundations, and the coastal villages were swallowed by waves as high as 20 feet. The island's once lush forests were flattened, leaving behind only the skeletal remains of trees. For hours, the storm raged, battering the island and its people without mercy. In the capital, a small, tightly knit community, a man named Luis Hernandez had gathered his family in the church at the center of town. The stone structure had withstood many storms, and it was believed to be the safest place on the island. As the winds howled outside, Luis held his wife Maria and their 3 children close, whispering prayers of protection. But even the strongest buildings weren't immune to Evelyn's fury. As night fell, the walls of the church began to tremble, the stained glass windows shattered, and soon the roof was torn away. Amid the chaos, Luis and his family huddled together, praying for daylight. When the storm finally passed, San Felipe was unrecognizable. Of the island's 1,000 homes, nearly all had been destroyed. The once bustling harbor was now a graveyard of splintered boats. But the true devastation wasn't just in the shattered buildings or fallen trees. It was in the lives lost. More than half the island's population had perished in the storm. The news of San Felipe's destruction spread quickly. Relief efforts were slow to arrive, hindered by the ongoing hurricane season and the island's remote location. But when help finally did come, it brought with it stories of survival, of people like Luis Hernandez and his family who had managed to cling to life despite the storm's wrath. Luis, battered but alive, had led his family from the ruined church to the mountains in search of shelter, and there they had waited out the storm, cold and hungry, but safe. Hurricane Evelyn wasn't finished after San Felipe. After leaving the island, it continued to churn northward, gaining strength as it approached the mainland United States. Cities along the Gulf Coast, from New Orleans to Galveston, braced for impact. In New Orleans, memories of the deadly hurricane of 1947 still lingered, and residents were quick to evacuate. But despite their preparations, Evelyn's impact was catastrophic. Floodwaters surged into the city's streets, and levees that had stood for decades collapsed under the pressure of the storm surge. By the time Evelyn had dissipated, it had left a trail of destruction across the Caribbean and the southern United States. More than 5,000 lives were lost, and the damage was estimated in the billions. It was a storm that would be remembered for generations, a reminder of nature's fury and the fragility of life, in the face of such overwhelming power. In the years that followed, the survivors of Evelyn rebuilt their lives, but the memory of the storm never truly faded. Luis Hernandez, now an old man, would often sit by the sea, watching the horizon and remembering that terrible night in 1958, when the wind and the waves seemed determined to erase everything he loved. But even in the face of such devastation, there was a sense of resilience, a reminder that, though nature's fury can be fierce, the human spirit is stronger still. Evelyn would go down in history not just as a storm of destruction, but as a testament to the endurance of those who survived it.